Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your preparation for patch 8.2. It is likely to be coming out in the next couple of weeks, so we do need to get ready for this as it is an enormous patch. This video is not about the quality of the patch. This is about the amount of stuff, certainly from a raid perspective, that you're going to want to be aware of and the things you want to prepare for now before things get really crazy, because they're likely to get very crazy, especially involving the auction house. So there is some stuff I'm not going to cover here, like pet dungeons and things. That's not my speciality, so I'm not going to bother. That's not my thing. So when you log in patch 8.2, the big quest you're going to want to get started with, it's going to pop up on your screen, is to get to Nazjatar. They're going to want you to do the introduction to Nazjatar immediately. This is before you're going to get your Heart of Azeroth or anything like that. They're going to send you straight down there. You're going to be introduced. You're going to do the opening cutscene. You're going to get a 415 weapon. You're going to get a piece of Azerite, a 385, and a 400 piece of armor of your choice. Gloves, belt, legs, doesn't matter. You get to pick which one you want to do. And then, after you've done that and you've established your base in Nazjatar, that's when you're going to get the quest to go and sort out your Heart of Azeroth. Now, it does not matter what AP level you have. If you have, say, an alt or a fresh character or whatever it is you're doing, or an established character, when you go down into the Chamber of the Heart, when you go to see Magni and then you go inside there, they're going to boost your neck up to level 35. That's what it did for me. And then they're going to unlock your major essence slot, as well as giving you a essence for free. One of the many, many new essences that are coming into the game. Now, I'll just point out here, there are links below the video if you want more details on things like all the essences, right? Where you get them from and things like that, because that's going to be an issue that's going to come up shortly. Anything I gloss over, there's probably a link down below for it. So after you get this essence plugged into your neck, I'm going to try and find a weak aura so you guys can have something to track. If I do find one, I'll update it below the video in the next couple of days. So you'll have a new activatable button, depending on what you want to do. Then you're going to be returned to Nazjatar. Now here you have some choice. You likely want to go to Mechagon, or you want to stick in Nazjatar. It's entirely up to you. But on the face of it, with Blizzard's announcements, Mechagon is more of a cosmetic side area. That's how you should think about it, unless you have no real immediate goals, so you're not looking to be part of a competitive raid environment or really get your character as upgraded as it possibly can. Then you can go off to Mechagon if you want to at the start, and you can start working on that to unlock the brand new mounts, the spider mounts, and all those kinds of things. If you are looking to upgrade your character as quickly and efficiently as possible, you're going to be spending a lot of time in Nazjatar, like a huge amount of time in Nazjatar. The initial launch of Nazjatar seems to heavily involve, if you want to upgrade your character, it's all about Nazjatar. So Nazjatar is like the new Argus area. Let's go through the bits that you're probably going to need. So the big changes in professions. A lot of us use a crafting profession for the most part for our main characters. So it could be some combination of leatherworking and jewel crafting, example, engineering, tailoring, something like that. So we can equip quite high level armor onto our characters. It's very normal for raiders to do this because they can get a really good piece of gear relatively quickly. Now, first thing that's changed with professions is at the moment, the cap is 150. When you log into 8.2, that cap is going to have risen to 175. You're going to have to re-level this profession for the next 25 points, and that's going to involve all the new ingredients which are found in Nazjatar. So there's a new ore, there's a new leather, there's a new herb, and alongside that, they've also introduced a number of upgrades to current profession items. So there are now epic gems in the game. Okay, so your blue gems are going to be replaced by the epic gems. There's new potions, but nothing particularly exciting here, sadly. It's going to be stuff like, if you use Battle Potion of Intellect right now, the new one is Greater Battle Potion of Intellect, right? They've just brought it into the modern era, as the old potions and the old flasks have kind of lost their flavor given how big our stats have got over the course of the expansion. So there's a new version that requires these new materials, right? So I would like to provide you with a profession guide so you can stockpile the materials now, so you can kind of power level as much as possible, but a lot of the new stuff does involve the brand new materials. However, that doesn't mean that you don't use any of the old materials. It doesn't mean that at all. Again, check the link down below for your individual professions to find out what stuff is involved. Very realistically, all of the old profession mats, so your stone silver ore, your siren's pollen, all these kinds of things that are in the game right now are about to ridiculously skyrocket in price. An obscenely large increase is likely to happen because of all these new materials that are coming into the game and the fact that people are going to want to power their professions up and, of course, start crafting these very good items that come from them as well. So a big piece of advice right now is cap your professions. And also, in a lot of cases, build the extra items that came in 8.1. The stuff where you can pull materials out of rifts for tailoring, especially things like being able to remove gems out of jewel crafting, because the likelihood is the brand new gems are going to be very expensive for a little while, unless they abundantly flood us with them, which they might do. But the ability to reuse gems is probably going to be a big deal as you're replacing your gear quite often with the launch of a new expansion and new gearing, right? So try and get that stuff done now. One thing we can say for leveling your professions when you go in, making the actual current crafted items out of things like Breath of Bwansamdi, you're likely to be able to span them, scrap them, remake them to get some early points into your leveling using old materials. That's likely to stick around for maybe 5 points, something like that. Nothing mega, but it is something you're going to be able to do. Just take note, it's worth having a stacks of older materials right now. While the prices are low, and probably when this video goes out, the prices might go up. But still, bear in mind, getting a supply of these materials beforehand and having your professions all at 150 is going to be a big bonus. Now, how do these work? These work very differently this time round. Traditionally, we are used to a new item coming with the raid, so your Sanguicells, your Breath of Bwansamdis, those kinds of things, in order to craft your items. That is not the case this time. Instead, they have a 3-tier quest where there is a forge in Nazjatar that you have to upgrade. The first upgrade is going to be 75 mana pearls. Okay, so if you're not clear on what mana pearls are, Nazjatar, of course, comes with its own arbitrary currency, as Mechagon does, as all new zones do that they introduce later in the expansion's lifestyle. They come up with a brand new currency, and this time in Nazjatar, it is mana pearls. Mana pearls come from daily quests. You can get some repeatable sources of them, although you're going to be farming quite a lot for very little. They are gating it in some way. So the new forge that's coming out, the first tier of it is going to require 75 mana pearls. That's a lot of mana pearls. That is a good couple of days or a few days worth of mana pearls just to get that one thing. And you do need quite a lot of things out of Nazjatar, okay, that involve mana pearls, unfortunately. So for the profession side of things, you're going to want to get that. Tier 2 actually comes from the raid. They have a quest in order to retrieve items. However, the big difference this time is once you upgrade the anvil to stage 2, so if you're used to crafting a raid item or some sort of powerful piece of gear like a helm or legs or whatever it is, depending on your profession, you will know it kind of goes like 400, then it goes to like 415, and then you get the high level version. In this one, it's exactly the same. There are 3 tiers leading up to 440. But so once you upgrade the anvil, it's done. It's done. You can always craft that level of item there. And the same with stage 3, the final one, which will give you your 440 item. That's, once the anvil's done, it's done for that character. Okay? It's done for that character. So you're no longer going to be flooded over and over again with these items that are very precious, like Breath of Bwansamdi. They're very precious at the start, and then they become useless, and you just end up with a bank full of them. That's not going to be the case anymore. You just upgrade the anvil, and you have that done. It is going to be expensive, though. It's going to be expensive in terms of getting the mana pearls. On top of that, be aware, jewel crafting seems to be insanely expensive. Now, some of you are going to say it was already insanely expensive to craft the jewel crafting rings. Yes, it was. It looks like it's going to get worse. The other ones, leatherworking, tailoring, engineering, all those kinds of things, look really, really cheap. Right? They look like they're very, very cheap and just need the anvil upgrading really to get those things crafted. Jewel crafting, just to create your 440 ring, is going to require 240 of the new green and red gems. So it needs 120 red gems and 120 of the brand new green gems. Yeah. And every time you re-roll, it's another 90. Ouch. Big ouch. Okay? But the ring is, of course, very good. You have 2 ring slots, so it doesn't matter if you get a Mad Titan Forged ring. You still have another slot to stick your jewel crafting ring in. I'm still using my jewel crafting ring now from the start of Battle for Dazar'alor. That ring is generally very, very good. Just be aware, super expensive compared to everything else. Everything else looks relatively cheap. It's a little bit of the new leather. That's about it. But for jewel crafting, for some reason, so if that's something you want to avoid, you're just not going to have the gold, consider re-rolling your profession now to one of the cheaper ones. And again, check the link down below to see what you're going to get. I talked about mana pearls earlier, and again, if you are looking to progress your character, Nazjatar, 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 Nazjatar. And the reason for that is essences. Now, I've been looking around everywhere today to try and give you some kind of answer to this question. I do not have one because you're going to be saying, which essences do I want to get, Mike? We still do not know. We have tested the raid multiple times on multiple difficulties. We have tested the new Mythic Plus affix. We have tested all that stuff, and we still do not know what are the best essences for many, many specs in the game. Some people think they're pretty sure, but unfortunately, even as of 2 days ago, they're still altering the power of the essences. It's extraordinarily difficult for Blizzard to balance these things because each essence is the same for like multiple specs. Okay, so it's not a case of we're making one for an Elemental Shaman, that's the Elemental Shaman one. We're making one for Balanced Druid, that's the Balanced Druid one. They're making one that works for range DPS, and everybody gets different benefits from the essences. They're finding it very difficult to balance this thing, and they're still changing them now, even though testing is pretty much done, which makes things very difficult. Now, sticking with the essences for a moment, if you're lucky, and I really mean this, if you're lucky, the essences you do want, once the community kind of figures out where you want to be heading with your essences, if you're lucky, it's going to involve an activity that, one, you want to do, and if you're really lucky, it's going to involve something you're doing anyway while doing something else. So let's use Nazjatar as the example. If your best essence comes from Nazjatar, you're probably in good shape because you're going to be doing a lot of Nazjatar anyway. However, they come from every different main source of activity in the game, which means there's a pretty high chance that your essence will not come from an activity that you're currently doing. So it could come from doing the Mega Dungeon in Mechagon. That's not too bad. It could come from Mechagon Rep. It could come from PvP. It could come from doing RBGs. It could come from doing something else, right? So we're going to get into that age-old argument, and I really want to make this clear, where PvEers are being forced to get what their character's best using to go on PvP and farm battlegrounds while they want to be in Nazjatar, while they want to be exploring Mechagon, while they want to do those things. But of course, those of us who raid really want to be ready for the raid. And you might find yourself being like, well, I can't do those things. I need to go and farm battlegrounds, right? And trying to get groups together to do that kind of thing. The PvPers are in the same boat, though. I want to be clear on this. The PvPers are in the same boat. They might be forced to go and do Mythic Dungeons, and they really don't want to do Mythic Dungeons. Now, my point I want to make is we're all in the same boat. This is not a player issue. Because what we often see is people break down into PvEers being against PvPers and everyone goes at each other. This is a system Blizzard has designed, not the players. Not the players. Arguing at each other about the situation is a real waste of time. Why Blizzard has decided that, oh, you're a raider? Well, your best essence comes from doing Battlegrounds. Like, I don't want to do Battlegrounds. I don't enjoy that very much anymore. But that's the way it is going to be. So whichever your essences are, it's completely potluck at this point for most people. I'm really sorry to tell you that. In terms of farming AP, any preparation you can do that? Yes, you can. What most people are doing, of course, is getting the extra Emissary rep after Exalted and just leaving it with the chest ready to turn in. So most of you are aware of this. Once you hit Exalted with a reputation, you can refill it and you get a nice bonus should you get all the extra reputation, right? What you can do is, of course, just fill that extra reputation bar so you get the reward is available as a quest, and just leave it alone. Wait until the patch day, because the first minor essence, which is likely to be the goal if you're raiding, is to try and unlock the next essence slot, is 55. Okay, it's 55. But I will point out now, it's a lot of AP. It's a hell of a lot of AP. As I just told you, the quest itself to unlock the major essence boosts you to 35, which means you have a long way to go to get to 55. A hell of a long way to go. So for those of you who are thinking the AP grind was over, which it in some ways is, because AP levels, your neck level, no longer is linked to Azerite armor. Once you get a piece of Azerite armor, it's just all unlocked. It's done for you. But the essences are now the thing. The essences are now the thing. I will point out this, though. Blizzard has said they are designing the levels required to unlock Heart of Azeroth levels to be at a point where it's so unfathomably far away for, say, the second minor essence that you can unlock, that you can't possibly farm it until they decide they're going to boost the artifact knowledge high enough so it's relatively within reach. So we're not looking at something similar like we've had over the course of Battle for Azeroth, where you can endlessly just keep farming and farming and farming and getting benefits for it. This time around, they're going to sort of allow you to get the first essence slot at 55, but in order to reach the next one, which I believe is 65 off the top of my head, is so unfathomably far away that you just would be unable to get it until they allow you to get it. And that's their idea to prevent people trying to power grind all the time and grind and grind and grind and grind and grind. Now, coming back to Nazjatar just for a moment, I did say there to unlock your crafting stuff, you're going to need 75 mana pearls. Some of the essences also cost mana pearls. Which way you want to go with that will depend. You're likely to be staggering it. As I said, some of the stuff with the anvil involves items from the raid. That could mean that you're going to do one, then the other, and then kind of work backwards and forwards. But if you are looking to upgrade your character, expect to heavily be in Nazjatar. On that note as well, there is some discussion as to the new benthic armor. This is the armor stuff that you can acquire in Nazjatar. Within an hour, you will have a full set. If you have mana pearls to spare. It costs 5 mana pearls each, and there are world quests that drop it. It's 385 item levels. However, it has 7 upgrade points, similar to you've seen with the old trinkets, where you can continuously upgrade their item level and make them more important. This means that potentially your best Azerite armor might come from Nazjatar. It's entirely possible that you'll be able to get some of the Nazjatar Azerite armor. The only armor you can't get from Nazjatar is, in fact, trinkets, rings, and weapons. They come from Mechagon. So, Outer World stuff in Nazjatar, all armor. Mechagon, weapons, trinkets, and rings. That's where you're going to get those things from, okay? So bear in mind that there is this difference there. Benthic armor does come with some bonuses that work inside the new raid, the Eternal Palace, and it also gives you bonuses while you're out in Nazjatar as well. But it can be upgraded. So depending on where your mana pearls are going to be put, you can potentially get a really nice piece of set. I think it goes to 430, which is an early piece of heroic raid gear. You can get that from Nazjatar, and that might be something you want to consider. If you don't need the essences from there, and you're not crafting any armor through professions, then maybe you want to throw your mana pearls actually very quickly upgrading a piece of armor up until its maximum level from Nazjatar itself, especially if the traits that are on it are really, really good for you. That's entirely possible for something to do. Other than that, the only thing you need to consider is, of course, the mount slots. Some people are still confused at this system, so I'm just going to reiterate it here, is that once you log into 8.2, if you have a water strider right now, it will no longer work on water. In your mailbox, though, you will receive an item which is the inflatable water boots. When you open your mount screen, you'll have a new slot there. And there are a variety of profession items that you can craft, and you can put one of those items into that slot. It's a consumable item, okay? So if you do get the inflatable water shoes for free in your mailbox, which is what Blizzard's sending anybody who already had a water strider, and you apply those inflatable boots into that mount slot, every single one of your mounts will be able to walk on water, excluding any mounts that have a really specific ability. So the best example, of course, is the Herbing Mech. The Herbing Mech has a special ability, and that is its ability to gather herbs while still being mounted. That will not be able to walk on water. However, everything else will be able to walk on water if you have slotted in that one item. It is consumable, though. It's gone. If you replace it with something else, like the Mount Parachute, you put the Mount Parachute in that slot, then the item you already had in there is destroyed. So if you, say, put the inflatable water boots in first, you walked on water, then you got the parachute item and put that in the slot, the water item is now gone. You'd have to get another one crafted. But now all your mounts will allow you to parachute off them. However, they will no longer walk on water. You can only choose one trait for all your mounts to have. Once it's in there, it affects all your mounts, excluding those special ones. And once it's removed, that functionality is gone. So what you can't do is, say, put the parachute item into the mount slot and use your water strider to walk on water, because it will not do it. It will only walk on water in patch 8.2 if you have the inflatable water boots item in that slot. I hope that makes clear and concise sense for you guys. You get to pick from a series of profession items what special function you want all your mounts to have in one go. Whichever one you pick affects them all, excluding special ones. And if you take it out, they don't retain that functionality. It's gone. until it now has the new functionality that you decided to have, okay? So that's most of the stuff for 8.2 that you need to be aware of. My big advice to you now is try and get level 50 on your neck if possible. Why not? It's just sat there waiting to be done. Stockpile some old school or current, as of right now, profession materials. Have them banked, have them ready to go. No concerns of anybody, just have them sat there just in case you need them, okay? And prepare yourself for the fact that you're probably going to be spending an absurd amount in Nazjatar, whether you like it or not. That's subjective, of course. If you like it or not, down in Nazjatar, gathering mana pearls, getting stuff done. And if a little piece of advice from me, hope and pray that the essences that you want to get, your first major, and unlikely to unlock your first minor if you're going to go pretty hard, hopefully they come from a source that you enjoy. But again, a reminder, it's not a player decision. Don't moan at PvPers moaning who have to go into PvE. Like, well, we had to do it, right? Don't do that. It's Blizzard's choice. It's not the player's choice. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I will see you in patch 8.2 in a couple of weeks. Expect it to be pretty soon, maybe 10 days, something like that. Hopefully we'll get an announcement soon. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.